shopping over here at Tremonti's because, of course, they got Christmas next week, so everybody's getting their orders in and everything ready to go for the holidays. And I'm actually getting my order in before I head out of town to New York City with the family later this weekend, getting my Christmas order in. So you should too. Tommy Christan joining us. We're going to get you caught up on the goings-on Sports Shorts Daily today. The New Orleans Saints found out that they're not going to have Sean Payton for Sunday's game. That's obviously going to affect the gambling line for those gamblers that are out there. Also, big news with LSU. Miles Brennan, he's back. He's back in Baton Rouge. What that means for the Tigers next year, it does not help him for the bowl game. I know a lot of people are wondering about that. He cannot play for the bowl game. It'll be next year that he can help the Tigers. He'll be in a quarterback battle, obviously, for that. And where Max Johnson's landed, we know where he's headed. It is the Wild Wild West, this football recruiting stuff. Bring in Tommy Christan, joining me over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. TK, I got to tell you, we talk about it a lot on this show, about the whole, transfer portal and everything. It's just flat out of control. It's almost like the stock market ticker this time of the year. I mean, every 10 minutes there's some news breaking where players are coming and going. When you get excited about LSU getting one, they lose one. Your reaction, first off, Max Johnson going to A&M and Miles Brennan coming back to the Tigers.
Wild Wild West, like you said, Ronnie. A little over a year ago, you had Max Johnson, T.J. Finley, and Miles Brennan in the same quarterback meeting at LSU. Now you got Finley at Auburn, you got Max Johnson at A&M, and now Brennan back at LSU. They can all play against each other in theory this coming season. Ronnie, I totally blame the NCAA. No clue at all. That's what NCAA stands for. They knew all this stuff was coming. They didn't get out in front of it. They didn't establish any rules or parameters or guidelines or policies. And it is just, most people don't think this is good for college football. And I'm not just talking about Lane Kiffin and Dabo Sweeney who have come out. I'm talking about across the board, the national pundits, the writers who have been writing about this every day for years, and internet guys, radio guys like you and I. I don't know. I don't know how to digest it. It's just craziness. And it's all follow the money. And there's no other way to describe it, but the money is controlling 99% of these decisions made by individuals, coaches, and teams.
Well, I'll tell you, Tommy, first off, my reaction to Miles Brennan and Max Johnson's deal, my understanding from what I'm hearing, and I talked to someone who spoke directly to Max Johnson's dad here in town a week ago, and Max Johnson told them, we're sad to go. We didn't have a choice. This wasn't our choice. That jives with what you originally had heard initially, which was that, basically Max Johnson was told. Now, how he was told and how it was put, who knows? And what I mean by that is, was there a meeting and Kelly talked about the future of the quarterback position in the program, and he basically said, I'm not giving you any guaranteed. It's not your job. You're going to have to earn it. You're going to have a quarterback battle with Howard and with, Nussmeier and whoever's there. That's probably more in line with the story you got initially, that someone told you that, he told him, hey, you need to go in the portal. I'm sure it wasn't blunt and cold like that. It probably was Max Johnson wanted some assurance that he was going to be the quarterback next year for the Tigers. He felt like he had earned it. And instead, he pretty much has to start from square one. And we know that Kelly has an affinity for Howard, the incoming freshman. He recruited him at Notre Dame. They love him. He loves them. He probably believes he's the future. And Max Johnson was not going to get any assurance that it was his job. And probably when they talked, they looked each other in the eye and realized there was disappointment. They weren't on the same page. And maybe he was even told, well, you probably should enter the portal if that's how you feel. And so now he ends up at A&M. We know A&M's starting quarterback last year is transferring. They do have a player that was hurt that's coming off the injured list. So Max Johnson's probably going to have to earn his keep at A&M, but he's going over there with his brother. A&M's recruiting class gets even better. They had the #1 ranked recruiting class in some polls. It's only going to go up from that here, adding Max Johnson and his brother to that class. But I think that's probably what happened, Tommy, as opposed to, hey, nice to meet you, Max. You should transfer. They probably had a discussion. Max realized, hey, I'm not earning a leg up by my play on the field over the last year and a half, and he was going to have to be in a quarterback battle with no guarantees, and a coach who, quite frankly, is recruiting other players that he may indeed like better.
Yeah, I guess when I said he was cut, that might have been the wrong description, but based on his comment that, I didn't have a choice, it kind of lends right to something exactly the narrative you said. There was a meeting. How long was that meeting? We don't know. But the summation was Max Johnson felt he had to go somewhere else. And then, of course, he lends with his brother at Texas A&M. And, it is what it is. It's part of the landscape of college football now that all fans of all schools are going to have to deal with.
Here's an interesting take by Craig Schilling right here. Free agency in college football doesn't feel like college football anymore. Need a no transfer portal, period. They're not going to ever go back to not having a transfer portal, but they need to go back to a window. Just like you have a sign-in period. You have an early sign-in period. You have a normal sign-in period. They need to have certain times of the year where the portal is active. Not all the time, not any time you just get yelled at practice, so you get frustrated halfway through your semester, you can transfer. There needs to be windows of time. I'm okay with that. But there's always going to be a transfer portal. As long as coaches can leave, Tommy, at any time and take jobs anywhere for any amount of money, they're free agents. Why can't the players be? And, the coaches are getting rich off the backs of players that, are supposed to just be happy to get a free lunch and an education. When, quite frankly, especially at the Power 5 schools, the majority of those players, thanks for the education, but I'm trying to get to the NFL. And so it's hypocritical to talk about schools making money, coaches making money, but yet the players can't make money. So the least you can do is give the players the transfer portal. You've given them NIL. But you do have to put some sort of restrictions or limitations on the transfer portal, because right now it is just you can't get a hold of your roster, Tommy. They can't. There's no way for them to know how many players they really have, because players are coming and going so fast.
Yeah, well, I agree with you with some kind of window of time. I also think they should throw in there that if your head coach doesn't leave, then you can transfer, but you're going to sit out a year like the old rule. Now, if your head coach leaves, for whatever the reason, he gets fired, he chooses to move on, whatever the reason, if the head coaching position changes, then you can be immediately eligible when you transfer. Again, the NCAA did not get out in front of this. That is absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing that an organization like the NCAA has no handle and no grip on this, especially because they knew it was coming.
This is an interesting take by Craig. I don't know that I agree. He says the NIL has made the under-the-table payments discussion legal, but the under-the-table payments are still going on and have gotten even bigger. I don't know that they've gotten bigger, but I'll say this. If it makes it easier, right, to pay a player. It makes it easier to have those discussions. You find a booster that's got a business. Hey, you want to represent that business? Okay, fine. Although if you have a real business where you have to answer to stockholders or shareholders or other partners, it may be hard to justify paying a guy, a couple $100,000 or $100,000 or something like that. That people may question, wait, you paying that guy that much? But I don't know that it's making the under the table payments bigger. I do think there's more players getting paid. I think there's probably a mix of money above the table and money below the table. I do think it makes it easier to pay players, where before it was a little harder and you had maybe fewer people involved in that loop. Now it's kind of the wild, wild west. I love the fact that you can see it. Look at the University of Texas with the offensive linemen all getting $50,000, from a donut business in the state of Louisiana and the state of Texas or whatever, right? I mean, you're going to start seeing creative things. The University of Miami, they have a big booster that's every single scholarship athlete on the campus is getting money next year from a company. Those types of things are going to continue to happen on a bigger scale all around the country. I do agree. Craig mentions the window. You said the window that would help. I hate the unlimited NIL, but LSU better learn to play the game way behind. I don't know if they're way behind or not. We haven't heard any stories from the state of Louisiana about any big businesses out there that are paying the whole entire LSU baseball infield or haven't been paying the whole offensive line. None of that's going on. Whereas they're losing out on some of that. Yesterday, we got all excited. We see that LSU, Miles Frazier, the big left tackle from FIU coming. He was the number one offensive lineman in the transfer portal. Great. LSU gets him. They get Miles Brennan back. And then literally an hour later, Tommy, they lose Trey.
I'm unmuted now. Hey, technical difficulties. Craig, Chance, you guys, everyone else out there, just hang tight for just another minute or two. As you got the message, no audio. We're having a little bit of an issue. We're trying to fix it up. But I think you can hear me. Chance or Craig, can you hear me? You can respond as you just did. And Ronnie's trying to reconnect. I'm guessing you can't hear me either because they haven't answered, and this is going through Ronnie's part of the program. But my button is showing that I'm live. Okay, you can hear me. Okay. Now it's telling me you rejoined, Ronnie, but I'm not seeing you. Okay. Thank you, Chance. Thank you, Craig. And everybody else out there in the internet world. Max Brennan, by the way, will not play in the bowl game. That decision's been announced. Best of my knowledge, they're still waiting to see if Nussmeier can play and not burn the red shirt year. They're waiting on a ruling from the NCAA on that. Hey, look, appreciate it. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Come get gift cards. Get your Christmas orders in. LeBare's Casino and Hotel. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. to 12 noon, we'll be at the Walk-Ons in Brewley for Sports Shorts Radio. We want you to check us out on that. And then, of course, Hold the Rope Radio on Sunday night with Skip and Cano. And if you like to bet on football, go to meatandpotatoesusa.com. On behalf of Ronnie Rance, I'm Tommy Christan.